overexposed by at least 4 or 5 stops. Why? I mean, 9 out of 16.
Embrace the imperfections, is that what it is?
Usable. That's okay for a €700 camera.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we got the new Polaroid I-2 in. It's a completely manual camera from Polaroid, and yeah, we were quite excited. We already shot 2 packs with it. A bunch of the photos were a bit overexposed, so we're hoping the camera nerds in the lab can figure it out.
Okay, Chris just dropped the new Polaroid, wait, what's it called? It's an I-2?
I-2, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
all right, let's do it again. Okay, Chris just dropped off the new Polaroid I-2 to us here in the lab. I've got Iago, he hasn't seen it yet. We're gonna give him a chance to look at the camera, go through some of the settings, and then we'll go and shoot some film. Yeah, here it is, Iago. Power button is here. You can play around with it a little bit.
Exposure adjustment here, right?
You can manually set your exposure compensation anywhere from -2 stops all the way up to over 2 stops. Nice tripod mount on the bottom. And when you turn it on, it's got a really nice overlay in the viewfinder.
Yeah.
So it gives you all the information and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of out of focus for me, maybe it's here. It has to have some kind of adjustment, right? Like,
so
I don't know.
Yeah, so you have the 2 adjustments. There's the exposure compensation on the top, and then that will change depending on the setting that you're in. It'll change like your f-stop or your shutter speed. So if you just go through to shift through all of the settings, you just click on that little button there.
What's the lowest speed? 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And bold. That's good. And the highest, 1 to 50th. But the maximum aperture is f8, actually.
F8, but because of the size of the film, it kind of works similar to large format lenses. So the look of an f8 is actually going to look pretty shallow.
To f64 maximum.
Yeah,
What else?
there's
multi-exposure.
multiple exposures, so you can do anywhere from 4 exposures on one frame down to, yeah, 1. Self-timer.
Timer, 3 to 12.
Okay.
This is aperture priority.
Manual shutter, and then fully manual.
Fully manual.
And then this is where you should be able to set your compensation as well.
Okay, let's go and try it out.
What do you want to start with?
Black and white, let's say.
Okay, cool.
So I guess it's autofocus too, right?
Yeah, a manual focus would have been nice, but
it's heavier on this side.
yeah, I agree. The build quality feels like they maybe invested a lot more into the lens than they did the rest of the body. It's pretty plasticky feeling everywhere outside of the lens, and feels like they're using pretty much the same plastic as they would on their standard cameras.
I'm just gonna photograph this lonely bench here. Aperture mode. I don't know why it shot the flash. That's a mystery. And I don't know why it shot at 1/6 if it's gonna shoot the flash anyway. Like it
weird.
measures and shoots the flash anyway.
Yeah. Does it change if you force it to go off?
1/8? No, it doesn't. So I don't really know. I don't understand that. But maybe we can try again. We can also try and make some Bruce Gilden style. I don't know if I can lock the focus like close.
So it says the minimum focus distance is 0.4 meter, which is pretty good actually.
Let's see.
She stopped for quite some time to investigate. It's probably been about 8 minutes or so since you shot the first ones. Has anything shown up yet?
It's coming out. That's the shoulder of the... Oh, I think I got the woman. And this is the other one. We'll have to see which one is with flash and without.
Yeah. Do you feel like you can change settings on the fly pretty quickly, or?
Not really, only one thing at a time.
Yeah. Because this is meant to be Polaroid's professional level camera.
Definitely not for street photography.
Because in the small amount of time that I used it, I was really missing a dial or something to change settings with my thumb. So Iago, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna do a long exposure, so I'm gonna use shutter priority here.
Okay, you've got a train coming right now.
Okay, let's try. Yes.
The wind.
I don't know why, but got it.
So maybe we do 2.
3, 2, 1. 5 seconds. And now let's try F8. 3, 2, 1.
Maybe this last one you can play around with the multiple exposure.
Let's do 4. It's the maximum.
Will you need to adjust exposure?
I guess it does it automatically. So I'm just gonna trust the camera. Technology, 2023. Let's try this one first. And now this woman. Let's see how well it worked.
Should we switch out to...
Let's do it. I'm just realizing that depending on the size of the
base plate?
Yeah, base plate, we need to remove it. So that's not ideal. Like they haven't thought this through.
Maybe I start with multiple exposure. Okay. Yeah, there's not much room on the viewfinder. You kind of lose the viewfinder pretty quickly. Okay. What color we have here? Ah, this lady here.
She didn't even notice.
No?
No. It's not super intuitive, I have to say.
Bikes, bikes, bikes. I need a bike. Maybe Tristan, can I use the app? See how easy it is to use? So actually, it's giving me a live light meter reading, which is kind of nice, I guess. Don't even need to press the shutter. Wow, that's amazing. Technology's great. I mean, at least it's pretty responsive, the app. Everything that you change is immediate, so that's kind of cool. Amazing. Great. The app works beautifully. Thank you, Tristan. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Who wants to be the last one? Paula! 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Thank you. And now we wait.
This is overexposed by at least
4 stops.
4 or 5 stops. I'm pretty sure it doesn't even allow you to of course not, just 2. So, why?
Actually, I haven't shot color Polaroid in many years, and the improvements on the color film is pretty good.
I mean, 9 out of 16, usable. That's okay for a €700 camera.
Well, we shot 2 boxes, 16 frames. How many did we get which were usable? 9?
9.
I guess 55%. Embrace the imperfections. Is that what it is?
You can actually try, just for the sake of knowing, go out with a digital camera, because it's really weird. I mean,
that's the light meter.
Let's say 0, right? We're like F11 1/50th, and then we go to F16, and it's almost 2 stops that goes down. Doesn't make any sense, right?
Hello again. It is the following day. We're back testing the Polaroid I-2. Yesterday, Iago and I walked around and there was some funky stuff going on. So we are going to load 2 more boxes of film, set up some portraits here in the park, and just compare settings on the Polaroid camera against, I've got a digital camera with me and Iago's got a proper light meter. So we can see if maybe there's something going on with the internal light meter of the camera, or if it is a software issue.
Let's start with the black and white, just like yesterday.
The temperature is also a bit warmer today, so we should have a bit more consistent results. I think maybe it was a little bit too cold yesterday to really get proper developing.
They also got a bit wet, probably.
Yeah.
So we can start with manual settings.
Okay, and maybe for all of the tests, we just try to keep the meter right in the center.
ISO 640, just like the film. F16, 1/250th. Should be okay for their faces. 3, 2, 1. The flash went on again, so I'm gonna do another one. So, okay, let's try aperture priority now. We can go again, F16, and it's measuring right now 1/13th of a second. 1/13, 1/15. Let's see. 3, 2, 1.
So the Ricoh is reading slightly overexposed with those settings, but we will see.
Maybe we can try and do speed priority now. It's measuring f16 at 1/13 of a second with speed priority. So let's try that. Our models are getting bored. 3, 2, 1. And we can try multiple exposure now. On the manual states that it's the camera itself that makes the compensation of exposure for as many shots as you're gonna shoot. So 4, 3, or 2. It automatically sets the correct exposure. So
Should come out fine.
it should be properly exposed. Let's just try. It's 4 exposures.
4 poses.
2, 3, and 4.
So I've taken a peek at some of the photos so far. They're not fully developed, but it looks like they're turning out a bit better than yesterday. What you didn't see on camera was after we got back to the lab, Tristan updated the camera. There was a notification on the app that said we should update. It could be that after this update, it's now properly exposing. If that's the case, it'd be kind of silly that you would need to update the firmware of an instant camera if there are problems with it. In my opinion, it should just be able to work right away without any assistance from an app.
They're not fully developed yet, but we can already see that aperture priority, speed priority are gonna be pretty overexposed. Manual settings with flash and without flash are okay exposed, although without flash it has this halo around the picture. Let's see. Let's wait. We can measure properly with the light meter and then changing the values so we have like high speed and low speed and compensating the correct aperture. It's only 2/10 of a stop, so it should be basically f16 and 1/60. But let's go f64. So
To do half a second.
this should be f64.
And what's interesting, on this light meter, it says that this should be a good exposure. On the camera itself, it's reading that it's exposing under 2 stops, by 2 stops.
So we have 3. Let's do 1 fully closed, 1 fully open, and 1 like somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Let's do them quickly so we have the same measurement. F64, 1/4. Let's go to F8 now. So 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 32 at 1/15. So we have every possible scenario.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch to color now.
We're gonna follow the same steps as with the black and white, which is first manually measuring the light, like with the light meter.
And then maybe on this box, I'll play around with the exposure compensation dial. I'm gonna match the settings of the light meter as close as I can. F22 at 1/15 of a second. 3, 2. I will just go with what the settings that are given to me are, and I'll adjust to -2. It'll be 4 exposures. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've pulled up the app and I'm in the multiple exposure setting. I haven't changed anything. When our exposure compensation dial is right in the middle at 0, we're reading -2. And it's a bit confusing because there's no explanation of if this is shooting at -2 per image or if it's shooting -2 overall for the 4 exposures. So just looking at the app as is and knowing that the camera says it will automatically create a good exposure depending on how many frames you're shooting, I would be inclined to move the dial to +2, where now it says it's properly exposed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm going to do I think another slow shutter flash. Put my settings in the middle, shutter priority. You see the aperture change depending on where the exposure compensation dial is. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this was my slow shutter sync with the meter reading right on the middle. I will do another one, same settings, move my exposure compensation dial to -2. Okay, we've kind of taken the camera through the tests and we've documented everything. The last shot that we have, I'm gonna shoot fully automatic with no flash. 3, 2, 1. Then we'll wait for them all to develop and we can look at the results after. We are back at the lab and we've laid out all of our tests kind of in rows of how we shot them. On the black and white, the first shot that we did, the manual shots here, where we matched settings between the small light meter and the camera, the exposure seems to be fine. The other test that the exposure seemed to be fine on was where we tested the difference between shooting at f8 and f64, but I don't really see too much in the change of depth of field. I mean, there's a very, very small amount between f8 and f64, but I would expect to see larger difference.
From the other ones that are properly exposed, the other 4 had a weird halo. In some cases, just some white stains. And regarding the automatic settings, especially in black and white, it's definitely overexposed. This is multiple exposure, so it's fully automatic. The camera chooses the settings, and it's definitely overexposed by at least 3 stops. And same goes with speed priority and aperture priority. They're overexposed by 2-3 stops. Easy.
Moving to color box that I shot, my long exposure, I had the exact same settings between the 2 images, and the only thing that I changed was the exposure compensation dial. And as you can see, both images exposure-wise are exactly the same. So it seems that on some of the shooting modes, the exposure compensation dial doesn't work, which is a bit confusing to me because it's the only 2 dials on the camera that you can adjust. Even on completely auto, the camera seems to be overexposing by at least a stop. The only test that I did where the exposure compensation dial seemed to work on is the multiple exposure. The -2 to me seems pretty much right in the middle exposure-wise. If it was a proper -2, I would expect to see a lot darker of a result. The +2, this seems to be way brighter than +2 stops of exposure. I would say minimum 3 or 4 even. So across the board, it seems like there's a lot of inconsistency with how the camera takes photos.
The results are okay with manual modes, but in semi-automatic modes, they're like totally overexposed in all of them.
Yeah, I don't think you can rely on what the camera is telling you. It's maybe something that you could figure out through trial and error, but I think the semi-automatic mode should work just as well as the manual modes, the fully manual mode, or the fully automatic mode for that matter. I think having the ability to change these settings and to have a camera that has all of these kind of manual modes is a really nice idea, and I think it's a really good step for Polaroid, but at the moment I can't see myself buying it, especially if I was somebody who wanted consistent results every time I shoot. Maybe this is where the marketing slogan comes from, where you should embrace the imperfections. But if I'm going to spend 700 euros for the camera, plus another 20 euros per 8 sheets, I would like a bit more consistent results than what I've seen.
Even for the imperfectionists, they should be a little bit less imperfect.
Yeah, final thoughts. I mean, if money is no option and you want a Polaroid camera that you can change some stuff, I think go for it. If you're on a budget, I mean, don't shoot Polaroid, but no, I would go with a vintage one or one of the other ones that are around 100 euros, and you can probably get similar results. I think that the option to be able to shoot with the different apertures, since it's at the moment not so reliable, I don't think it's a huge thing. I think you're gonna have just as much fun shooting the camera without all these controls. You can just shoot, not worry about it, and you get the Polaroid experience. And that's what I think the whole thing is about, to shoot and have this instant kind of memory to give to people, have a physical thing.
I mean, if the money is not a problem, you can get like the original ones, like the Polaroid SLR 680, and you have a professional camera that can shoot with 600 film, with glass lenses and everything, also manual focusing or autofocus, and it's perfect.